Hello, I'm Sarah Corbett and I am the head teacher of the School of Gentle Protest. And the first visiting professor that we have in this series is Tom van Deijnen, and I'm going to talk to him about inner activism, because often we think about protest, we think about protesting against someone doing something harmful, when actually we often need to start with ourselves, of where are we part of the problem and where can we be part of the solution. But that's an uncomfortable thing, and one of the amazing things about craft work is that it can use that comforting action of craft work to help us think through and be mindful about our activism. Tom is a designer maker and he's the founder of the Visible Mending programme. So Tom, tell us what the Visible Mending programme is.
Right, thank you for having me. First of all, the Visible Mending Programme is all about repairing and celebrating particularly clothes, because that's kind of my background. I'd like to highlight that things are, have a life, and that you want to repair them and keep wearing them for longer. So I like to show like a patina or like layers of history to your garment. And what I do is I try to provide inspiration, skills and services around repairing. So what I do is I write a blog and I'm active on social media. I do workshops.
You taught me how to darn.
I did taught you how to
very
darn.
exciting.
Yes. And
you had lots of patience with me.
Oh, thank you. And I also take repair commissions.
Okay, brilliant. So you really are living out your values, which is what I always found when I first met you, was your passion for making things last, for not using lots of resources that go in a landfill. So we're talking about inner activism.
Yeah.
Why for you is this handicraft such a powerful tool?
It's a difficult question to answer, because I've always been creative and making things with my hands. And what has happened, I guess, is that I've started to get interested in making my own clothes, and I started to think about what does that mean. I've always repaired things, not always with quite as much thought as maybe nowadays.
Okay.
But since I was a teenager, I've been trying to repair things or hide a stain or just stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I started to realize when I started making clothes, the things that what happens is you put a lot of thought and effort in it, and you embrace the thing you're making, and once it's finished, the garment will tell you a lot of history or a story. Why did you make it? Maybe you wanted to make it for an occasion, or you really like the pattern, you thought about the yarn or the fabric you bought. There's lots of things go in there. And then for what happened with me is that first pair of socks that I knitted was really difficult, because you had to learn to knit in a round, and everything felt really complicated. So when I finished them, I was really proud of them, and I wore them a lot. Yeah, so of course you get holes in them, and then I thought, right, now I need to learn how to repair them properly. And that's kind of when I started to understand that, with clothes you make yourself, it's very easy to feel the value, even if it's something that other people might not like, or some people don't like the homemade look, but you're really proud of it and you love that thing, so you want to repair it. But then because I've always been repairing my own clothes as well, I think that process of repairing, you can use that as a way of being creative. For me, it's all creativity is an important thing as well, and I think that will help. That helps me think about why I repair as well, because I like to put a lot of thought in things.
Yeah, you are a very thoughtful person.
Yeah, I'm a very thoughtful person.
And I remember asking you about the make, do and mend scene. So lots of people will say, oh yeah, Tom does make, do and mend. And I really like your take on it, because make, do and mend is part of World War. Did it come out of World War II?
The Second World War, yeah.
So where do you see mending now in the context that we're in today, in the 21st century? Where does mending fit in to that inner activism?
So first of all, I struggle a little bit with referring to all the repairing as make, do and mend, because that the roots for make, do and mend comes from the Second World War, and people literally didn't have a choice. They had to make do with what was there, because lots of resources they would all go to the war effort. Whereas nowadays the why of repairing has changed a lot. So although I like the ways that the government at the time showed people how to do things differently in a more sustainable way. Nowadays the why has changed. You can think more about finite resources and stuff like that, but it's not like you don't have a choice. That people feel they have a choice, and I think that's where the difference lies for me.
So when people see your visible mending, which is very visible, as you can see here, or some of the incredible things you make, like your stunning jumper.
Thank you.
When people comment on it, what type of comments do they say, and how do you then bring that back into your values and your keenness to be sustainable, which just comes naturally, which I think is a really brilliant way of wearing your convictions and showing, even though it's inner activism, so people might not need to know your values, because you're wearing it, it's easier to talk about them, isn't it, in a gentle form of protest. So what type of comments have you had from people?
So lots of people really like the idea of visible mending. They are sometimes a bit scared to try it out themselves. But what always surprises me, that people, the first thing they think about is, oh, but that's not a fancy cashmere sweater, so why do you bother repairing it? And then I try to explain that for me, clothes always have value, because I think you need to respect the people that have made the clothes, and clothes that wear and develop holes or whatever, you clearly like them, because otherwise you wouldn't be wearing them so much and they wouldn't show all the wear and tear. So whether it's cashmere jumper or an acrylic jumper from Primark, if you love it, try to wear it as long as you can. So obviously I would prefer natural fibres myself, but I think I always try to explain that, if you buy something cheap, it's not cheap because it's made by people who don't know what they're doing. The people that make them,
people.
It's very skilled people, and I think you need to respect that. So I always try to explain that when people ask me about it.
Which is a lovely way to have those conversations without shouting at people or judging them. And how is your keenness for sustainable fashion and that intentional way you live, in that very mindful way that you work, how is that translated into other areas of life? Has it, or is it that every other area of life is completely unsustainable and you don't think about the ethics?
No, that's not phew. So I've learned a lot about clothes and how all the process around making clothes, how that works. And what I've realised is that when I start things like, I've tried to spin my own yarn to make a sweater, and I started literally from a raw fleece. So I did the sorting of the fleece, the washing, all the things, spinning it, everything. And then if you try to translate that into, or extrapolate, I guess, to the bigger picture, like the clothes industry, you grow all the cotton or the sheep, or there's a factory that makes the acrylic yarns or whatever it's made of. There is lots going on there, and I think I've started to take that to other things as well. So if I look at my chairs at home, or I don't know, anything,
Your breakfast?
My breakfast. I try to eat organic, or when I do my food shopping. For instance, I might not be able to afford organic food all the time because it is expensive. But then I try to at least go to the local market and buy it from the greengrocers there.
But you are thinking about it.
I'm thinking
about
it.
So you're never just on automatic pilot, whizzing around.
No.
Yeah, so very thoughtful around.
I think what is important to me is that you realise that you can't do everything, but you should try to be happy with what you can do. And some months that might mean I can only go to the Aldi,
Yeah.
and other months it means I might be able to go to the local health food shop.
But I think that's important to know as well,
Yeah.
isn't it, for the students watching, is no one can be perfect, but that doesn't mean you should give up. So
Yeah.
I have an iPhone, which is very unethical in lots of ways, but you've got to look at the pros and cons
Yeah.
of what else can you do, where can you campaign sometimes, if
Yeah.
you're buying from somewhere unethical, can you buy somewhere else, or can you campaign, or can you be a customer who says that as a customer I really care about this.
Yeah.
So very holistic looking,
Yeah,
I guess.
yeah.
So have you got any, well, before you give homework to our students, so how would you describe inner activism for you? Because it will be different for all of us.
Yeah.
Some people won't have the time maybe, or might not want to darn, but I would try it out, it is
Obviously.
good. But there is that slowness of the craft that forces you to slow down
Yeah.
and think, which I think is really important, and there'll be homework around that for the students. But for you, what does inner activism mean?
So I think for what is important to me is, sorry, I just need to take a look at my notes because I had so many thoughts around that.
He's a very thoughtful man.
I think the most important thing is be informed. So try and find out what is going on.
Yeah.
Try to understand what it is you don't know, because you can take
Don't know
anything for
everything.
granted, but also there might be things that are more or closer to your heart than others. So
Yeah.
start with those things.
Mm-hmm.
Be mindful, and I think you need to find peace with yourself that you can't do everything.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Definitely.
You can be really overwhelmed by all the things that are wrong in the world, and you just, I might be able to do something with sustainable fashion, or make my own things and make that last longer, and then there might be somebody else who can, worry
But then
about
what you were
another
saying
thing.
about food and things is a form of everyday activism.
Yeah,
So looking at where you buy your food, how you treat people when
Yeah.
you're at the bus stop,
yeah,
you've got all of that.
Yeah.
Sounds like a brilliant definition. I'm going to steal that one.
oh, you're welcome to it.
So the final question for you, Tom, is
Homework.
because it's
So-
not easy being a gentle protester. We have to do some work.
Yeah,
So what do we need to do to be better?
So
in
I
activism?
think what is really important for me and for everybody else, I feel, is to be inspired and be an inspiration. So what I really like to see is people try and do some visible mending. Don't get worried about how it looks like. You just need to practice it. And I would love it if people were to hashtag it on social media with the hashtag visible mending. Then you can look it up and you can be an inspiration for other people as well. So I think that's my
It's a big
homework.
one, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a form of everyday activism
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, there you go. You got your homework from Tom. We've got more links in the descriptions below the video. And I hope you see this as a real foundation for inner activism to help you do all the other forms of activism that you need to do. Thanks again, Tom.
Oh, thank you so much. It was
You're
a
very
pleasure.
welcome.